we are here with Robert Mahaffey. Hello there, Robert. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So tell me about yourself, where you're located, how long you've been in the mortgage business, your
So
company.
I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, actually Westchester, just about 20 minutes north of Cincinnati. I am a mortgage broker and I own my own shop. I have owned it since 2007, which I know was a great time to start in the business as an owner. I was in the business prior to that. I have about 11 employees. I operate as a broker in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and Florida. And I still produce as well as own the company. And so I'm currently producing, 13, 14 loans a month, and have been enjoying that production. I do a lot of purchase business. So
Awesome. And may I ask you, out of your employees, how many of them are in production as well?
we're about 50-50. So we actually intentionally staffed up, to answer your question. Not because I foresaw this coming or anything like that, but we staffed up with an additional support person in September, thinking that the business would grow, knowing what we wanted to do. And I wanted to take some stuff off of my plate from an operational perspective so that I could go get more business. And so we brought in another operations person in September for that. So we have 5 loan officers and 6 support people right now.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And how long is it now that
Yep.
you've been a customer of Agent Legend?
About a week, maybe a week and 3 days. My first campaign actually went live 1 week ago today, and
Awesome.
yes, I wish it would have been longer.
And so this will be a fresh question on your mind. How did you first hear about us? How did you first hear about Agent Legend?
So I'm part of a lot of different loan officer networks and groups and associations, and I had at several of these conferences or events seen people that did demos on how they were using technology to respond to business or generate business. And so I had a presentation just, I think, 3-4 weeks ago that I sat in on, where the individual was using Agent Legend to respond to potential leads and then automatic follow-up. And one of the things that this has really stuck with me, and so I have to give him credit for it. Sam Parker with My Credit Guy, which is one of your clients.
Yeah.
He had said that in this day and age, we need to produce as many opportunities and as much content as possible so that people raise their hands to do business with us. And when you're in such a sales funnel that so much business is coming in, you need to be able to respond to the people that raise their hand to do business with you first, rather than chase somebody that may not be interested in your services. And it's a lot easier, based on him, and I totally believe this. It's a lot easier close when somebody's already interested in doing business with you because of something that you sent them or told them, or a video that you posted, or whatever the opportunity may be.
Absolutely. And can I ask you, and this is only if, I don't want to blindside you with this question, but is it, can you share the names of some of these like groups and conferences, or is it like a—
Yeah, absolutely. So, being a mortgage broker, I'm part of Brokers Are Better. I'm part of AIM, which is the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. I'm part of MFBA, which is a very exclusive group of some of the top industry professionals. And so I've seen those presentations. I also work for a coaching company as a professional sales coach, and some of our clients have mentioned that they've been using Agent Legend for different pieces and facets of their technology. So it was something that I definitely wanted to learn so that I could confidently coach them, but also saw significant value in how it could help my business.
That's awesome. And what was the name of the event that you were at when you said that somebody was sitting with you and showing you at a conference? Or
So the most recent event that I was with Sam Parker was at the MFBA conference in Austin in February. So
gosh, yeah, Sam. I've never talked with Sam, but I'm gonna have to. But I have known his name for years. I mean, it must be like 4 years now since. I mean, he's just a name around the company because he's been a customer for so long.
yeah, Sam is very impressive. I've known Sam for I think 9 or 10 years now, and Sam is a titan in the industry. And his tech efforts, while he doesn't necessarily originate mortgages like I do, he helps people with credit repair and runs a very successful credit repair company. But his tech methods, he's just really become a titan in the industry, and so I couldn't understand how more people don't gravitate to what he's doing and try to mimic it. And one of the best things about Sam is that he several times when I've inquired about different things, Sam's like, well, hey, let's jump on a Zoom and I'll just show you. We'll build it together. And I think that's one of the best things is that he's always willing to help people.
Man, I mean, for you to come on here and talk so well about him, that says a lot. That says a
Yeah,
lot about him and a lot about you too. Thanks for being transparent with all that and sharing
no
that.
problem. No
And
problem.
then, so I mean, gosh, man, it's been a week, so I know even like using our service is fresh on your mind and the results from it and stuff. But just tell me, and I mean, clearly you've been successful for a long time. You know what you're doing. Give me an idea of what your business was like prior to a week ago.
Okay, so I mean, for anybody that watches this, we are about 3.5. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're about what 3.5 weeks into the coronavirus, maybe 4 weeks, and so we're in this really crazy time in our industry and our market. Interest rates have plummeted. They are now extremely erratic in what they're doing from day to day, and so I guess I think I told you this the other day when we first talked, but it was um, it was 3 weeks ago today that I got home from work. I knew what the market was doing. I had already made the commitment that I was going to work the weekend to try to let as many people in my database know what was going on as possible. And so, when you and I talked about this, we laughed, but I got home from work. I told my wife, I just said, listen, Amy, I'm going to have to work this weekend. I'm apologizing in advance. And whatever that means, we'll make up the time later. And so, um, dinosaur being old in the business, I physically, I had my past client list in front of me with what their interest rates were, and I physically sent a text to one client just with the simple line of like, hey Jim, this is Robert from Third Street. I promised you that when we first started doing business together that I would always keep an eye out for your interest rate, and if there was ever a time that I could save you money, I would let you know. And so would you be interested in a conversation? So I sent that text to Jim, and then I copied the text, and then I found the next person and I changed the first name. That's all I did. I sent the
That's
same text.
awesome.
So that night I sent out 53 texts, just copy, paste, copy, paste. And there was a lot of effort involved in that where I had to go look up the phone number, copy, change the name, make sure that I did it correctly. Well, in the meantime, I was getting instant responses. And so literally it got to, it started after dinner. It got to about 10 p.m., which I felt was a little bit too late. And so I just thought the next day I'll repeat, because my database is like 10,000 people with all of the years being in business, but past clients is smaller than that. And so I just thought I have to let as many people know as possible. So then Saturday I started, and in the middle of kids ball games or anything else, because we hadn't canceled stuff yet, I'm firing off texts. I'm responding to people that came in, and I would just make a note in my planner of the people that I needed to respond to. And so I continued that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and was receiving enormous success doing that, but there was a lot of effort in the front end for that. And so again, this was after I had already gotten back from the MFBA conference, and I thought I need to set up a demo with Agent Legend. I'm not totally sure what it can do for me, but I need to set it up and figure out. And so fast forward to last week, I went through the demo 2 weeks ago. Last week I signed up. We did my onboarding call on a Monday, and my first campaign was supposed to go live on Wednesday of last week. And being the owner, I got pulled into a couple of other things. I messaged Alexandra and said, hey, can we postpone my launch until Friday? I haven't done some of the things that I'm supposed to do on your end yet. So we launch on Friday, and listen, full disclosure, I'm the guy that wants to drink out of a fire hose. And I think a lot of people in our industry are, and you get that a lot. And so I kind of said to you guys, I want to dump my 10,000 person database into the system and immediately start pinging them. And you guys know your software well enough that you said, I'm sorry, we can't do more than 50 a day. And I'm thankful that you told me that, because of the responses that I was getting. I would have not been able to keep up, for sure. So
wonderful.
So what I actually did is that I launched 2 campaigns side by side, so that not only was I looking at refinance business, but I was also trying to follow up on past pre-approvals. I had about 310 people that had gotten pre-approved with me that had never acted on those pre-approvals. And so the way that I elected to do the campaign with you guys was, on Friday I put 50 past clients in, was responding to those. Saturday morning, we dumped 50 pre-approval clients in, so that I was able to, that was a much easier response. It was, are you still interested, or are you not? And so if they weren't, they went into a different system and we stopped the follow-up. If they were, then I was able to send them back to the agent that referred them to me to begin with. And the agents were blown away. They were like, oh my gosh, I had forgotten about Sam, and I need to reach out to him. And so it was great, because we provided that follow-up for the initial lead that they gave us. So what I did was I alternated days with dropping 50 in each. And so Sunday went back to 50 past clients for refi opportunities. Monday went to 50 past pre-approvals, et cetera.
That's interesting. Let me ask you, is it, what was your reason for deciding to alternate them? Because could it be that the refis were that the refis were the bigger, the more urgent opportunities? Just tell me a little bit about your mindset behind why you chose to alternate them in the way that you did.
I might be totally wrong in this, and somebody might totally disagree with my theory behind it. But honestly, it was a capacity issue with trying to keep up. You've seen my numbers, and I'll just share it on here. I'm at a 53% response ratio on the refinance campaign. And so if you do the math, after 150 prospects or 200 prospects, whatever, that's a lot of people to follow up with, especially on the weekend while you're doing a lot of other stuff. And so I just simply thought, in order for me to keep up and adequately respond to people, I need to alternate the way that I do this, because, as you well know, it's not just a response, but then if they immediately want to opt in, then you've got applications to prepare and stuff to put into processing, et cetera. And so I just opted to alternate 50 each way, because the 50 for the pre-approval campaign was a little bit of a reprieve for me, because that became more of, if you're not interested, I put you somewhere else. If you are interested, I send you back to the realtor. And it wasn't like another instant application or whatever. Whereas the refinance campaign, it was, I'm in, let's go. Okay, great. I'll send you your application, and then I've got to submit that file, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that was my reason. It may have been totally short-sighted in the market, but based on the results that I've received, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I think that's the important part. I mean, my gosh, you're making the best of what you have, and you're maxing out one channel, and then instead of just waiting, you're maxing out the next channel that you could potentially do. I mean, it's
Sure.
the best way to take advantage of all the opportunities right now. I think that's valuable even just you sharing, you know, your insight and why you did it for yourself is going to be really valuable to a lot of people. So thank you.
Sure.
Let me ask you. So again, I know you'd heard about this from Sam, heard about Agent Legend. What were your feelings about Agent Legend prior to becoming a customer? And were you skeptical about anything, or did you have any concerns once you started hearing about it? Like, and please be
Well,
totally honest with me. You know, this is
yeah,
helpful.
I initially, just like any tech, I think you're skeptical of certain things and how it can work. And I will say that some of the things I'm still learning about, you know, now I see the importance of really tweaking the message that goes out through text or email, because sometimes you can convey the wrong you know, initially we're trying to ask somebody if they're interested in us sending them information, and then if the follow-up message isn't appropriately worded, sometimes I'm getting people that said, hey, I didn't ask you to send me information. You know what I mean? So I think there's importance in the wording, and so I was a little skeptical of that. I don't know that I would honestly say I was skeptical in the cost of the software, because I'm one of those people that believe that you can almost 10x anything, and so for me, you know, in the mortgage field, the cost being comparable, I feel like you can, you know, one deal would pay for a year's worth of the service, right? Or maybe two deals would pay for a year's worth of service, depending on somebody's comp plan. And I was never looking at this for just one or two extra deals. I was looking at this as you know, let's figure out a way for me not to have to put as much effort in, or the manual effort of dialing numbers and copy and pasting text messages, to let's put mass amounts of business into the pipeline at any given time, and then using it as a follow-up piece, because there's other campaigns that I haven't implemented yet that I definitely want to.
That's awesome. Thank you. And then in terms of results, my gosh, I know I know it's just been, you know, almost a week, barely a week. Do you have any estimate or any even idea at this point as far as what are you expecting in terms of deals, just in terms of results that you think you'll be able to get from the help of Agent Legend?
Sure. You know, on the refinance campaign itself, I took 10 loan apps over the weekend from past clients. And so, you know, the response has continued throughout this week. I think I've taken 3 or 4 more through the week, but last weekend alone, when it launched on Friday, so I had 50 on Friday and 50 on Sunday, and those 2 days alone, which would have been 100 clients, I took 10 loan apps, and all of those deals are locked and will close. I don't know the exact number of revenue that I will receive from that yet, but I mean, 10 loan apps in one weekend out of 100, you know, past clients is phenomenal.
And can you speak to, you know, you had mentioned you reached out to 100 past clients over the weekend. That's just on, you know, I don't know how conservative you are in your messaging and your campaign, but it's something I would ask you about. Did you think about, like, all right, this is the first time I'm reaching out to them. I'm going to do just a 2 or 3 day soft check-in, and then a couple days later, I'm going to check in again. Did you
Sure.
think through that?
Yeah, and maybe I have a different approach to it as well. I think I shared with you this as well. I honestly felt like, in at Alexandra's urging, I didn't read the script per se when I was recording the message. I never wanted it to seem robotic. Like, I think a benefit to this type of technology, or any other type of, you know, mass messaging technology, I think the key is, look, if we're going to slide into somebody's voicemail without dialing the number, I want the message to seem like I actually called them, and they think, oh, I don't remember seeing a missed call from him. You know, so I told you that I recorded it 4 or 5 times, and even was imperfect in my delivery with extra pauses, like I was actually leaving you a voicemail trying to think of the next thing to say. And so I wanted it to be very authentic. And that's where I told you earlier that I think I've failed a little bit in the wording of my text or email responses, because I was so authentic in the voicemail that I have gone back and tweaked my text or email response, to not assume that they responded, because I have gotten those messages from people that have said, I didn't ask you for a quote yet, where my message said, hey, I've got the numbers you asked me for. So I felt like there's been an importance in changing the wording on my side. I don't have a problem with the message that you guys have at all, but I think that when I was going for that authenticity, I needed to change some of those responses as well. I'll tell you a funny story that just yesterday, you haven't heard this yet, but one of my really great past clients that I go to church with got the message because he got dumped in yesterday, one of the 50 people that we dumped in. And I got a message from him through the app that said, Robert, how did you know that I was online looking at mortgage calculators? I'm worried about, are you watching? And I said, no, this was just coincidental that, I've been contacting 50 a day and this, so it just was funny because, I mean, people are out there looking, and the fact that we're the ones that are getting to them, it makes them respond.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what happens when you have the bandwidth of being able to follow up at the right time, right? It's like,
Yeah,
that's
sure,
the time you want to follow up, is when they're thinking about, well,
sure,
I wonder what that would look like for me. That's because otherwise you're bothering them. So,
sure,
um,
sure.
yeah, that's fantastic. That's really smart. I really, I think, I also think it's important to highlight the distinction that you're making. I mean, I really wish that every single, it's not, I really wish, it's the way that it works best. I mean, our system only exists to be an extension of you. And, that's why that's honestly why so many people have had success so quickly, just like you, with us, Robert. It's just because you've been doing what you do for so long and so well, and you have your own way about representing yourself and talking to your clients, and it should be different. Otherwise, there'd be no difference between you and any other mortgage broker or loan officer, right? So
Right.
that's the benefit of it. So it works the best. And actually, I would say it's only effective. I mean, I don't even want to work with people who don't want to think about what it is that they want to say. So you did the right thing by looking at our templates. Are only in there as like a baseline to show everybody what's been working. And
Sure,
then you customize it yourself based on your personality. That's
sure.
that's
And
what we
I
all do
think
all
that,
day. Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's important too. And you guys kind of had some foresight in that when I first, I guess this would speak to some of the hesitancy, is when I first talked to Alexandra about, okay, you're going to have a voicemail that's recorded that's going to go out, and then you're going to have a text and an email. Immediately, I thought, oh, shoot, I've got to come up with a script. And so I think that it's great that, you have the template for what you've seen work, but then you also encourage, like, hey, massage this and make it your own, right? Because some of the verbiage that's in there may not be something that my customers are used to hearing from me based on the way that I say it, or, so I think that that it's great, because I was a little paranoid of what the scripts were going to be. And yet, like, the text message that's in the campaign is extremely simple, like one word text. And I think that salespeople, especially mortgage brokers, have a tendency to try to overcomplicate it and think I have to send a 4 or 5 sentence text that's going to close them immediately. Well, that's not what it's designed for. Again, to get back to what Sam said, you want people just to raise their hand to do business with you, right? Or to at least get back to you.
So true. Yeah, so true. And then, I don't know why it is that I mean, the way you talk to your friends is the way you should talk to your clients for the most part, right? Like,
Right.
being yourself. You're not going to be one way to your friends and family and then a totally different way. It's just, it's uncharacteristically awkward. So
Sure.
you've really keyed in on something, that being your natural self, you know, you don't want to be somebody different just because you're using Agent Legend, because that's not what's worked unless you've been somebody different your entire career. And that's why you've been
Sure.
successful. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for going into that.
yeah, I mean, you and I get these robo calls all the time, and you know the feeling you get when you hear that voice or whatever. And so I just felt like there needed to be some authenticity to it. You know,
Absolutely.
changing your voice inflection and you know, so on and so forth. I think that one of the things that I think is neat, and I'm not an emoji guy at all, but the text message, you could put as many emojis in the text message as you want, you know. And
Yeah.
so if that's your character and that's the way that people are used to hearing from you, smiley face, heart, you know, everything like that, then that's what you can do. And that, so I think it's great that you can customize your message to that piece.
Oh, thank you. That's great. These are really, really great tips and insight. And so what is it that you'd say you like most about Agent Legend?
Well, I think it would be what I said about being able to prioritize responses to the people that have raised their hand. You
Hmm.
know, when if I go back 3 weeks ago when I was just sending out text messages, it's like, well, where do I start? You know, and how do I know which people to text first? Do I just take the highest interest rate and send that text and then go down the line? Um, and then not being so short-sighted to the fact that there might be a mortgage transaction that benefits everybody, even the person that just closed at 4%. You know, maybe they have a debt consolidation or whatever. And I know that that's not what this call is about, but I like I think that just the fact of getting the message out and then responding to who you need to respond to, and sometimes that response, I guess this is really key, is sometimes that response is to a past client just assuring them that they already have something good. And I think that if we wouldn't have dropped those 50 people into the campaign, that they otherwise may not have heard from me. You know, the
Hmm.
person that just closed 4 months ago that has a great rate already, just telling them, hey, because they responded, just saying, listen, I looked at your stuff again and you're in a great spot. Sit tight unless I contact you again. Sometimes that assurance is enough that prevents them from going somewhere else. And somebody that may not have their best interest at heart, putting them in another transaction.
That's a good point. The people that are in a great spot need to be reminded they're in a great spot, and you helped them so recently, and there are other opportunities you need to be focused on. So how do you have the bandwidth to do it all? That's a
Sure.
really smart use case. I don't hear people talking about that enough. So I know that's going to be helpful for others to hear.
Yeah, I think
So
the main thing is that people just need to hear from us often, and this is another method for that. Whether Agent Legend is used as a method to put a lot of business into your pipeline, or simply just a method of communication going forward. Because you know, I have it on my screen right now. I told you there's other campaigns that I haven't implemented yet, but there's a close the deal, keep in touch campaign, which again, if I can automate me following up with the client in the form of, hey, it's been a month since you closed your home. I hope everything's still going great, and I don't have to physically dial that or send it out or whatever, you know. And then maybe they reach out because they have a daughter getting married or something like that. But I do think I don't want to say that this is just to put more business. This should also be used as a follow-up piece as well.
absolutely. Gosh, you've given so many great tips and best practices from your own experience. Um, the only other question that I have is, do you have a website that you'd like to share with our audience, or an email address for anybody that wants to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would just say, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody about my experience in you know, going through um, maybe possibly ways of setting it up. And so if they want to reach out to me at rmahaffey at Third Street Financial thirdstreetfinancial.com, and that's the number 3. So rmahaffey at thirdstreetfinancial.com. And then, I'd be happy to jump on a call or anything else.
Oh, that's really, really generous of you. That's awesome. Thank you, Robert. Well, I really want to thank you for taking time to do this interview with us. I just love the way, I love so many things, actually. Our friendship is new. You and I just talked for the first day a few days ago for the first time. I just love the way that you came on and implemented quickly. And I think the thing that's unique, it's an important distinction that I make, is what is it that made you have so much success so quickly? And it's because you already knew what you needed to do. And you've already got all the pieces in place. And, we were just a tool that you needed leverage. You needed leverage in terms of being able to clone yourself, because nobody can represent you as good as you. And you knew that at the right time. And that's why here it is a week later, and we're already having a case study interview about how you're crushing it. And that just speaks to you and a testament to, how you run your business. And I'd love to ask you just about your coaching business. Do you just work with, is it sales professionals that you work with in general, or is it LOs specifically that you coach to run their business like you do?
We currently coach between 40 and 50 mortgage professionals. And so that's mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers, and then that gamut runs from loan officers to owners of companies. And so we kind of classify 4 different levels of origination or involvement in the mortgage business, and try to put the potential client into one of those classifications and how we would coach them. A level 1 loan originator would need different things than a level 4 originator. And so currently we just coach mortgage professionals. But we've talked about expansion into other markets as well.
Well, no, I mean, the only reason I say this is because you've offered so much valuable insight here. And clearly the way that you run your business is inspiring to so many people, because you have systems in place and you've just come on and been so generous. So, so anybody that wants to get in touch with you could just email you directly at the email that you shared with us. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. And you and I have talked about even potentially having a link or something that people could ask me other questions about it. So we could always share that at a later time.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be able to work with you, Robert. This is, just the beginning for us. Excited to do a lot more with you. And by the way, if you're watching our Meet the Legends series right now and you want to try Agent Legend yourself to see if we can help you get more deals, just go to our website and put your name in for a demo, and we'll be happy to share the system with you. So thank you again, Robert.
Thank you for having me.